Tonight, we step into the shadows of the Roanoke colony, a place where 115 souls vanished without a whisper in the late 1580s. This is no ordinary disappearance. It's a wound in time, festering with dread. And the more you learn, the colder the air around you will feel. Let's begin. In 1587, a group of English settlers, men, women, and children, sailed across the Atlantic to build a new life on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what's now North Carolina. Led by Governor John White, they carried dreams of prosperity, of a shining colony under Queen Elizabeth's flag. These were families, mothers cradling infants, fathers with calloused hands, children chasing each other through the ship's deck. They landed on a wild, untamed shore, fringed by dense forests and marshes that seemed to hum with secrets. The island was no paradise. Mosquitoes swarmed, food was scarce, and the local Croatoan and Secatan tribes watched warily. Still, the settlers built homes, planted crops, and prayed for a future. But the land felt wrong. The colonists spoke of strange noises at night, low, guttural moans drifting from the woods. Like voices trapped between worlds. Some swore they saw shapes moving in the fog, too tall, too thin to be human. The children stopped playing near the forest's edge, clinging to their mothers instead. Tensions grew with the tribes, too. The settlers, desperate and hungry, clashed with the Croatoan, and blood was spilled. One colonist, George Howe, was found dead by the shore, his body pierced with arrows, his face frozen in a scream. The settlers buried him quickly, but at night they whispered that his grave was empty by dawn. John White, the governor, knew the colony was crumbling. Supplies dwindled, and fear gnawed at their hearts. He made a desperate choice: sail back to England for help, leaving behind 115 people, including his daughter, Eleanor Dare, and his newborn granddaughter, Virginia, the first English child born in the New World. As his ship faded into the horizon, the settlers waved, their faces pale, their eyes hollow. White promised to return swiftly, but war delayed him. For 3 agonizing years, he was trapped in England, haunted by thoughts of his family starving, or worse. When White finally returned in 1590, his heart pounding with hope, he found nothing. The colony was gone. Homes stood empty, their wooden walls splintered as if clawed apart. Crops rotted in the fields, untouched. The settlers' belongings, tools, clothes, even Virginia's tiny cradle, lay scattered, half buried in the sand. No bodies, no blood, no signs of a battle. Just silence, heavy and suffocating. Carved into a tree was a single word, Croatoan. On a fence post, the letters C-R-O trailed off, as if the carver had been dragged away mid-word. The air felt thick, like the island itself was holding its breath. What happened to those 115 souls? Did they flee to the Croatoan tribe? Were they swallowed by the wilderness? Or did something darker, something ancient, claim them? As the sun set over Roanoke, White stood alone, staring at that cursed word, feeling eyes watching from the trees. The island wasn't empty. It was waiting. When John White found the colony abandoned in 1590, with only Croatoan carved into a tree, he wanted to believe his people had found refuge with the Croatoan tribe on a nearby island. But the sea was cruel, and storms forced his ship back to England before he could search. He never saw Roanoke again. His daughter, his granddaughter, his people. They were gone, and the island kept its secrets. But what if those secrets weren't human? What if the forest itself was alive, hungry and angry? The settlers' journals, fragments preserved in England, tell of a place that felt cursed from the start. They wrote of nights when the wind carried voices, whispers in a language no one knew, slithering through the cracks of their homes. One woman, Agnes, claimed she saw her dead husband standing at the edge of the woods. His eyes black as tar, beckoning her to follow. She refused, but the next morning her bed was empty, her shoes left by the forest's edge. The children spoke of the tall ones, shadowy figures that watched from the trees, their limbs too long, their faces blank. At night, the settlers barred their doors, but the knocking never stopped, slow, deliberate, like something testing their resolve. The Croatoan tribe warned the settlers to leave. They spoke of a spirit, older than the island, that guarded the land. It didn't like intruders. It fed on fear, twisting minds until families turned on each other. The settlers ignored the warnings, too proud, too desperate. But the deaths began. A fisherman vanished, his boat found drifting, covered in scratches that looked like claw marks. A young girl, Mary, was found in the woods, her body twisted, her mouth open in a silent scream. The settlers buried her, but the ground seemed to reject the grave, pushing stones aside by morning. Some believe the settlers tried to flee to the Croatoan tribe, carving Croatoan as a message. But why were their homes torn apart? Why were their belongings scattered, as if they'd been running from something? The forest around Roanoke was dense, its paths twisting like veins. Those who entered often didn't return. One journal entry, scrawled in shaking handwriting, read, "The trees move when we sleep. They watch us. God has abandoned this place." The writer's name was scratched out, as if they feared being found. Imagine it. 115 people, trapped on an island where the air hums with malice. The children cling to their parents, too scared to cry. The adults hold axes, their hands trembling, knowing no weapon can fight what stalks them. The forest closes in, its branches like fingers, its shadows alive. Did they run? Did they scream? Or did they simply vanish, pulled into the earth itself? The Croatoan tribe later told sailors they never saw the settlers. No trace of them was ever found. Not a bone, not a grave. As night falls on Roanoke, the island feels alive, its pulse slow and cruel. The word Croatoan wasn't a message. It was a warning. Something was awake, and it wasn't done. The settlers weren't just gone. They were taken. And whatever took them is still there, waiting in the dark, listening to the wind whisper your name. The disappearance of 115 settlers in 1587 wasn't just a mystery. It was a scream that never found a voice. No one knows what stole them from the world, but the island knows. It's alive with their terror, and it's waiting for you to step too close. Let's finish this tale, but don't blame me if you can't sleep tonight. After John White left in 1590, Roanoke became a ghost story. Sailors avoided the island, claiming their compasses spun wildly near its shores. Those brave enough to land spoke of a stillness that choked the air, like the world was holding its breath. The trees, gnarled and twisted, seemed to lean closer as you walked, their branches scraping like nails on bone. The word Croatoan was still there, carved deep into that tree, but the bark around it looked wrong, blackened, as if burned from within. Some swore they heard faint cries at night, not human, but something mimicking human pain, echoing from the marshes. The Croatoan tribe, questioned years later, said the settlers never reached them, but they shared a chilling tale. Their elders spoke of a spirit, a shadow born when the first blood was spilled on the island. It wasn't a god or a demon. It was the land itself, waking up, furious at the settlers' intrusion. It didn't kill quickly. It played with its prey, turning families against each other, filling their minds with visions of lost loved ones. The Croatoan said the settlers' screams were heard for weeks, then stopped, swallowed by the forest. The tribe never set foot on Roanoke again. They called it the hungry place. Centuries passed, but the horror didn't fade. In the 1800s, loggers tried to clear the island's woods. They fled after one night, their tools broken, their tents slashed. One man, half mad, babbled about eyes in the dark, glowing like embers, and hands that crawled from the soil. In the 1900s, archaeologists dug for clues. They found nothing but shattered pottery and a child's shoe, its leather stained with something that wasn't mud. Every team left early, complaining of nightmares, dreams of being chased through endless trees by something that laughed without a mouth. Today, Roanoke Island is quiet, a tourist spot with quaint shops. But locals know better. They don't walk the old paths at night. They don't talk about the fog that rolls in, thick and cold, carrying whispers of names long forgotten. Visitors report feeling watched, their skin prickling as if something brushed past them. Some see figures in the distance, tall, thin, standing still, then gone when you blink. The word Croatoan lingers, a scar on the island's heart, a key to a door that should never be opened. Imagine those 115 souls trapped forever in the island's grip. Eleanor Dare, clutching her baby Virginia, running through the dark, her screams fading into the wind. The children, their tiny hands reaching for parents who are already gone. The forest swallowing them, one by one, until only silence remains. But it's not silent now. Listen closely. Do you hear it? A faint scratch, a whisper.